I think that the higher law concerns consciousness, mind, or spirit in the universe, independent of the brain. Different cultures all share a common thread. The phenomenal worlds, including the brain, owe their existence to this universal mind. Now, this idea is a core part of metaphysical idealism, something we'll be coming back to soon. The one thing that any of us can be sure of, I think, therefore I am, in quotes, we each have a direct knowledge of mind. Nothing is more immediate and intimate. We lack direct access to anything else but mind. I think that I regard consciousness as a fundamental. I regard matter as a derivative from consciousness. Everything we talk about, everything that we regard as existing, postulates consciousness. In my search for what I regard as the most economical explanation of reality, satisfying the demands of Occam's razor, I might say idealism, the position of the universe, is essentially mind-like. It satisfies the requirements in the metaphysical domain. And metaphysical idealism is the most logically consistent position that eliminates the problems of both materialism and dualism. And if I might quote Kastrup as defining metaphysical idealism to mean, and I quote, reality is mind-like. There are other routes to the same conclusion in the case of experimental, rather purely philosophical perspectives. I feel that, for example, for my NDE, it was an incontrovertible disproof of the skeptical dogma that there is no spiritual dimension to reality. What I've experienced and what has been experienced by millions of other people who have had NDEs and other spiritually transformative experiences is the blackness that we didn't know to look for. I very much feel it points towards the conscious nature of the reality that surrounds us. And my emphasis will go that during my coma journey, I experienced this same sense of oneness with the universe as completely unified self-awareness of what that is. I was alive, conscious of itself, if I might say it like that. Like a truly mindful universe. And my intuition that science and spirituality greatly strengthen each other, that their natural synthesis is an inevitable aspect of human history, is one that I share deeply. Because I was trying to get an explanation from my doctors, from my grandma, of what really transpired, how were they experiencing me? And it kind of evokes physics as doing the same. The physics community has only become more befuddled by recent experimental results suggesting that there is no objective external reality, that consciousness, like the observer, is at the very core of all imagined reality. That we are simply observing life. Interesting, yeah? What we have experienced is captured by the Vedic word Maya. In my view, this is not suggesting that the world is not real, but what we experience of it is rather an illusion, in quotes. Or as I tend to express it, a simulation. It is not what it seems. Reality, therefore, for me, is best explained by seeing it in the way idealism does, as fundamentally a form of thought in which the human mind participates. Which brings me back to the physics again in order to emphasize our interconnectedness, also one of my mantras. Now, in metaphysical idealism, also in quantum physics, for example, all of the universe is deeply interconnected. Any separation of a part from the whole is our thinking, and our thinking leads to distortion and confusion. It should be no surprise then to find where this now takes me. And along with me, this view considers our conscious awareness to originate in the collective mind, which comprises all sentient consciousness throughout the universe. Now, I might speculate that this might be a part of the reason why we have a universe at all. the grander evolution of consciousness is the reason the entire universe exists. Now, the importance of the heart to our connectedness. Now, you will be aware of just how important the idea of our heart is to my understanding of my own nature. On the one hand, I wrestled after starting to tread this awakening path, and with the explanation of the nature of the mind as provided by materials that I engaged in. But also, on the other hand, the use of the expression understanding heart, which I have stressed in many places and is key to grasping what I want to try to convey in my writings or in my works, especially in my music and writings. So no one should be surprised that I resonated strongly in what Thomas Merton describes as centering prayer, as a return to the heart, finding one's deepest center, awakening to the profound depths of our being, end of quote. At the same time, I would emphasize the crucial importance of connectedness. We are spiritual beings living in a spiritual universe. In other words, we are two little organisms that are living within a bigger organism, like a component of a larger. Fundamentally, this spiritually means that we are all interconnected through what I might say the collective mind. Now, moreover, the heart is central to a fuller realization of this truth. Maintaining awareness of the heart and an appreciative state of mind while listening to another person often results in improved clarity and increased awareness of more non-verbal aspects of what is being communicated. If we are to reduce the filter, interestingly, and this is what was new, an insight for me, I might link this heightened sensitivity paradoxically to a reduction in brain activity. For example, a complete state of silence. I drift a lot when I talk to people. I move, and in fact, most people tell me that they can be able to tell when I'm passionate enough through my eyes, when I drift into this trance-like state of being, and they see that I have an outburst of life. Like this flow of state, lessening the information processing of the brain might allow the filtering function to diminish, allowing me more complete contact with like the collective mind across the veil and setting my awareness free. Furthermore, I think that when we accept that the physical brain does not create mind, but serves to allow in universal consciousness, going within is actually the means of going out, to know more of the universe. This resonates strongly for me with so many, mystical perspectives. There are lines that says that, how can I know or reckon myself only for a very short-lived form, when within me the universe is folding, it's unfolding. I think this is how I also try to connect it with my upcoming publication. And in turning sides to myself, then I may find me standing within the collective and powerful and self-subsisting form of existence. And I think that more resonances were to follow, something I have explored many times, once you realize there is a part of you that is separate from your thoughts, that is key. It does not analyze, it simply observes. This is the first means to finding that larger part of you that exists beyond the physical world. The related idea of interconnectedness follows close to the heels. Rather than being separate individuals competing for resources driven by the concerns of the ego, we are part of a larger whole, connected to each other in ways that bring meaning and purpose to our lives. Our observed reality exists as the stage setting on which we learn ongoing lessons. Now, the idea of observed reality as a classroom maps onto the concept of the world as a womb of the soul, in which we prepare ourselves for entry into the next world beyond death. Now, a useful approach is to consider our collective earthly existence as time spent in, like, let's say, a soul school. This interests me because sometime in Germany, I think in 2019, I was in Düsseldorf and for an exchange program, and I was walking in the street and this mystic lady approached me and said, and held my hand, and she told me, you chose a very strong and perilous path. And I worried so much that she could see my soul. I was deeply in the pit, and I was reconciling the fact that I might die soon because I was still within the time frame that I was told I was going to die of cancer. And my life didn't feel to have any meaning at all. It was really fucked up. There's a lot of intense emotions. There's a lot of deeper questioning of life. And I looked back into my own life as a whole, besides the cancer experience, and I realized just how much intense my life had been. I laughed out loud when, she kind of made it in the plainest language possible. And this is what she said: no one gets out of here dead. There is ultimately no escape from the continuum of conscious awareness. Well, that was really beautiful. And we really don't die. Our idea, our understanding of death is very limited. We think that we have died, but have we? Because nobody knows the other side, really. And if I might connect it with the NDE's experiences that I've had, I feel like it's just a loop. The more you prick that veil, the more it leads you to a more expansive and ever-shrinking place of consciousness. I think conscious awareness is the very same force at the core of all existence. Such oneness and dissolution of the sense of self and complete identity with all of life and the source of all that is the pathway towards the truth. And love is the ground of being. Based on thousands of reported cases of those who have glimpsed more fully the workings of reality through NDEs and other mystical experiences, that informational substrate underlying our universe appears to be made of profound and conditional love. We are all able to develop the capacity to connect if we are prepared to make the effort. Truly, we all have the capacity to explore the vast well of consciousness that lies within and through us, and within and through the network of souls within which we are in a hidden but eternal pattern of connection. There's no breakaway from it. If we are to connect this to collective responsibility, it is a journey we need to undertake together. We are all part of a vast and creative consciousness, and the evolution of all of consciousness throughout the cosmos is nothing more than the individual journey of the sentient beings in coming to understand their own role in this creative endeavor. We are at a crucial tipping point. While we may collectively understand, we are still evolving. I believe that we are on the verge of the greatest revolution in human thought, in all of recorded history, a true synthesis of science and spirituality. Now, from my perspective, this will not be a smooth and blunt transition, as the current events in the world powerfully illustrate. An unprecedented in its violence, unpredictable in its course, catastrophic in its immediate effects, unimaginably glorious in its ultimate consequences. We are at present sweeping the face of the earth. It's kind of like we're driving a car in, remorselessly gaining the range and momentum. We are participating in a cleansing force, however much undetected. We are increasing with every passing day. Humanity is gripped in the clutches of its devastating power, and we are smitten by the evidence of its resistless fury. I think that it can neither perceive its origin nor probe its significance nor discern its outcome, because the more we advance, the more we realize we don't really know anything, really. It takes us back to the basics, back to the collective. And we are agonized and helpless as we watch this great and mighty wave invade the remotest and fairest regions of our thought processes. And our foundations are deranged by their equilibrium because we are disrupted. Homes of the people, wasting cities, family dynamics, social relations, intimacies, and we are pulled down in this dimming light and harrowing up in the souls of all the inhabitants that we get to meet as we travel across our journeys. I think I might compare this stage to the development of our civilization and adolescence. The long ages of infancy and childhood through which the human race had to pass have receded into the background. Humanity is now experiencing the commotions invariably associated with the most turbulent stage of its evolution, the stage of adolescence. Now, when the impetuosity of the youth and its vehemence reach the climax, we must gradually supersede the calmness, the wisdom, and the maturity that characterizes the stage of manhood. If I might believe to have a motivating force to meet these challenges, I might argue that we must move from community engagement to an inherent responsibility. To do this, it is necessary to realize that all things are interdependent, and to assimilate that worldview in such a way that it influences our every actions. And this is what ultimately becomes altruism as the key to the transition that I was talking of earlier. I read a book that touched on this very emphatically. The book is called The Empathetic Civilization by Jeremy Rifkin. Jeremy, as I quoted, acknowledges a possible deficit in the motivating force of empathy that he is attempting to describe. He is aware of a potential void in the credibility of his position, but has to locate a motivating awe elsewhere than in the transcendent he refuses to acknowledge, so chooses our connection nature to the planet instead. Now he writes, and I quote, "Empathic consciousness starts with awe. When we empathize with one another, we are bearing witness to the strange, incredible life force that is in us and that connects us with all other living beings. Empathy is, after all, the feeling of deep reverence we have for the nebulous term we call existence." End of quote. Now, the essential motivating component potentially provides a spiritual insight that is undoubtedly, even so, simply not enough to move us past the tipping point constructively. For this revolution to yield its most important fruits, one more crucial thing needs to be added into the mix. And I think more than that, we need to have an openness. Something that is not very teachable. It's only experienced. The compassionate veil that expands our inner being. A compassion to self, a compassion to imagine, a compassion to overcome the limits of our perspectives. And this is what creates the net effect of our wholeness, the sum of one. I don't know where I was going with this. But it's 4:45 and I'm going to end it. Omondi Chuka, and this is Proof of Life.